Welcome.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Good stuff. I'm really sorry for my delay. I think I'm still getting the hang of this bleeding Microsoft Teams and the whole live streaming. And so I guess modern technology is not for everyone, but we're here now. So I'm grateful to both Susan and Hannah for joining our panel today. And of course, the rest of you that are tuning in either live here on Microsoft Teams or those that are listening to the live streams. I believe we should be live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, 2 places on Facebook, our page and also the Startup Events London group. And this is Startup Growth Q&A. Basically, it's our attempt to help you grow from zero to hero, which means you can ask us any question to do with your business growth, whether it's user, vendor, partner, client acquisition, growth hacks, sales, marketing, advertising, branding, or go to market, and all that jazz. There are no wrong questions. By the way, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. The way it works is that if you're here live on Microsoft Teams, you type your question in the chat room, and then I give you the mic to ask the question. If, however, you are tuning in via the other platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please be aware that unfortunately we're unable to monitor your questions live there. Therefore, you would need to click on a link that I've posted on all of those live streams and then join us here interactively on Microsoft Teams. If for any reason you can't get through to that link, the best thing to do is to go to our website, StartUp and look out for today's session, which is Startup Growth 131. Sorry, Startup Growth Q&A 131. And it's a quick registration and you'll be sent straight in. Now, the way we're going to do this is some quick introductions. Then the ladies on the panel will give us their main do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage growth. And then we'll start taking some questions from yourselves. By the way, if your questions today are not on growth, please save them for the other events we run. We run 6 regular events: Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesdays, as you can see, growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of each month, UK startup law, third Friday of each month, UK finances Q&A. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site, StartUp2ScaleUp.club. And actually, good thing to do would be to join our WhatsApp group. You'll see that on our website on the icon top of the page and bottom of the page, and there you'll get alerts for all future rooms. By the way, although we've had over 270,000 people join us so far, because we've changed platforms, I guess we need all the help we can get. So if you do find any value in this, please feel free to share it and spread the news. Now, without further ado, some quick intros. My name's Anton Call. I'm an Albanian in London, working with startups mainly right after they get investment. I embed within their teams and help them hire and keep the right people. I also do some growth advisory work for some other startups and accelerators. And lately, I've been helping some angels and family offices with their due diligence and assessment. I guess since Susan's been here before, we can start with Susan and then Hannah, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Susan Harkins, and I work for the South of Scotland Enterprise, which is a public sector organisation, economic development organisation, and we are working to really promote and help businesses in the South of Scotland prosper. Like Anton, I've got a lot of experience in early stage and startup, and helping businesses to grow as well. So a bit of an all-rounder and general sort of practitioner, and happy to be here today.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, Susan. Yes, Hannah.
Hey, I'm a fractional CMO or marketing lead. I work across a range of lifestyle consumer brands, namely CPG, fast growth startups, so similar to yourselves. They're often either self-funded or they are VC, or if they're more in the scale-up space, even PE-backed businesses. I'm based across London and LA, so I've found myself in a bit of a niche of supporting UK businesses launch into the US or vice versa. And yeah, early in my career, I was at some of the bigger household names like Huawei and Casio, but very much in the startup ecosystem now.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much for that, ladies. Now, again, just a reminder, I can see a few others in the other platforms that have started to come in. Please be aware that unfortunately we're unable to monitor your questions there. So if you do have any questions for us, please feel free to click on the Microsoft Teams link. That will require quick registration, and you can join us here on Microsoft Teams, where if you've got any questions on your business growth, just put that in the chat here, and then I'll give you the mic to ask our team. In the meantime, perhaps our ladies wouldn't mind giving us their biggest do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage growth. And again, if you like, Susan, you can start first, and then we can go to Hannah.
Okay, so I suppose with early stage growth, it's about, for me, understanding your customer base, understanding what your data is telling you. So make sure that you you have good information on your existing customers, and making sure that if it is growth and you're entering into new markets, you know, doing some testing on that initially, and who's likely to who's likely to want your products. A big don't is just don't assume anything. Base it on fact. You know, you're going to be investing money, so test the market. Don't just assume that people are going to buy your product or your service. Do a bit of work before you start to think about that growth and where that growth is going to come from.
Thank you very much, Susan. Hannah, any thoughts on this?
So for me, from do's, I think it's just being really efficient. I think budget is obviously minimal when you're trying out. So I think, similar to what Susan said, it's around kind of test and learn. So getting your product market fit right. So whether that's kind of testing your messaging hierarchy or it's your pricing, but I think it's really important to do that. Similar around being quite focused on what your key metric is, whether it's acquisition or it's retention, and where you see those kind of issues and what you want to focus on. And then my don'ts is don't do too much. I think it's really focusing on your organic channels and where you can find more lookalike customers in an organic way, and then build and test from there.
Well, thank you very much for that, ladies. Quick reminder to everybody, in the meantime, if Hannah and Susan would like to have a look at a question in the chat, and then I'll read it out loud. That was sent by somebody that isn't here, so it was sent beforehand, whilst hopefully the others are getting ready to get their questions in live. So just a quick reminder, by the way, Hannah, you can go first, and then Susan. So we're doing Startup Growth Q&A. It's our 131st session. We're here to help you with any questions you may have on growing your business, whether that's user, client, vendor, partner acquisition, growth hacks, sales, marketing, advertising, branding, or go to market. There are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. For those of you that are tuning in via LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please be aware that, unfortunately, we're not able to monitor your questions live there. So you would need to join us live here on Microsoft Teams. And the way you do that is by clicking on the links that you see on those live streams. Or if that's not working, just go to StartUp-to-ScaleUp.club. Look out for today's session, Startup Growth Q&A 131. And that would take you straight to us here. There is a quick registration, but that's only a few seconds, and then you can join us live interactively on Microsoft Teams. For those of you that are already on Teams, please be aware that we're only here until 1 p.m. and that time flies away. So if you do want to ask us questions, just type it in the chat room, and then I'll give you the mic. For those of you that have questions that aren't on growth, please save them for the other events we run. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of the month, UK startup law, and third Friday of the month, UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site, startup-to-scaleup.club. Where actually a good thing to do is to join our WhatsApp group. You can find that on our site at the top of the page and the bottom of the page. There's a WhatsApp icon. Click on that and join us to get alerts for future conversations. And now let me read the question out loud for those of you that are tuning in elsewhere. So let me ask this first. So we'll start with Hannah. Hannah, this is a pre-revenue SaaS startup in Cambridge. She provides a compliance management tool for biotech companies. And then she goes on to say, whilst our platform streamlines regulatory submissions and reduces human error, many smaller firms in the region lack the budget or urgency to invest. Despite several free trials, conversion rates remain low. How can we refine our client acquisition strategy to highlight the costs of non-compliance establish urgency and secure paying customers in a cost-sensitive but high-risk sector. I know this isn't consumer-based, where your sort of main track record is, but thought I'd start with you and then we can go to Susan.
Cool, quite a meaty one. For me, I think if they're not seeing conversion initially with a free trial, which I think is obviously kind of a go-to, everyone loves to kind of try before they buy. I think there's probably a ways of first just going in on that free trial. There's obviously maybe other ways of structuring it. It might be the length of the trial. Maybe it's a value add. There could be other offers that might entice these people, such as kind of, referral mechanics, very, very popular in the kind of B2B space. But I think maybe it's just kind of understanding how we're getting these customers and what data we have on them or those leads. So looking at so if they're sending emails, for example, to try and convert them, then perhaps like what their habits are. So what type of content are they opening, and start to segment those users a little bit more, and send them down perhaps kind of more of a personalized funnel. So instead of kind of going to the free offer, it's potentially, or the free trial, maybe it's around providing kind of a value add first, such as a funnel of kind of education and benefits of the platform before moving on to the actual conversion.
Thank you for that, Hannah. Susan, what are your thoughts on that question?
Yeah, really actually quite similar to what Hannah was saying. I jotted down some notes. I think when you're working, particularly, it feels like it's difficult because we don't have all the information, but if you are working with those smaller companies, then it is really tricky for them, because I think, as you say, money is always quite tight for them, and it's about trying to understand, what benefits they can get out of it. So sometimes, I don't know if this has been quite a wide project, taking in lots of different companies, and maybe it's about learning the lessons, if there is any, from the free trial, and then trying to work out what that USP is for that business and how you then communicate that to maybe taking a slightly smaller number of potential customers and working with them to make them understand what that unique sort of, what that brings to their business to help them, maybe be more profitable, or for them to gain more customers, or if it is around regulation. So it's a bit of a tricky one, but I think it is really around a bit more work around understanding more about what you're selling to the business, and what they need. Is exactly what you're selling on the platform, is that actually what the business needs, or is it just a nice to have? And how can you tweak that to, I suppose, if it's needed, to adapt to what your customers are telling you, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it totally does. And thank you very much to both of you on this. Now, Becca has put in the chat a question, and she's not sure if it's exactly for today's theme, which in a way it's not, because this is more for our talent room, Becca, but I've just unmuted you, and I'll just read it out loud for the people that are tuning in via the other platforms. So you go on to say, I'm not sure if this is the right forum, but thought I saw this topic mentioned in the description. So I'm interested in advice on drafting a collaboration agreement. We're developing an app, and a developer is working on a prototype for us. He hasn't asked for any payment yet, and if all goes well, would like to draft a formal collaboration for him, and potentially others who we are working with too. Are you able to unmute yourself, Becca? So I've given you the sort of mic permission. Now all you have to do is just click on your mic to unmute yourself and be able to speak. Okay, I guess you can't. No worries. I'll give you my quick 2 pence, because I wanted to give you the mic so we can ask some follow-ups, really. If So this room, if we were talking about partnerships, as in go-to-market partnerships, we could easily go into much more detail here. But can you hear us now, Becca? Maybe your other one wasn't working, so now you have Becky. Let's give you the mic on that. Hopefully that should let you talk. Are you able to talk now, Becca? I've just given you the mic. You just have to click on your mic in order to be audible, really. Anyway, we need to have you here so we can ask you questions, really. Okay. No, don't seem to have that option. Is grayed out. Yes, can hear you. Mic is grayed out. That is strange. What I'm trying to understand is, for this developer that is building a prototype for you, in terms of getting an agreement done, you need to look into what the plan is to do. Are you hiring this person as a fractional techie? Are you hiring them to do a job and you just pay them a fee for that? Is it something more long term? It's important to get these right. Or are you planning to give them a share in the equity? For some reason, because you're unable to speak, I guess we can't really do more than that. But see if you can get your tech to work. And in the meantime, I will put another question, if it's okay for the ladies. This is from a fintech in Birmingham. And let me just copy and paste it. Right, bear with me, please, ladies. Where is it? Okay, so chat. Copy, paste. All right. If you can look at this, please, ladies, and then Susie can go first. Sorry, Susan can go first and Hannah after, but I'll read it out loud for those of you that are tuning in via other platforms. So this is a fintech in Birmingham. They're at seed stage. The problem they're trying to solve is a new banking app designed for freelancers that offers tailored financial services. The challenge they're having at the moment is to be able to stand out in a saturated market dominated by established players. And the question that she has is, we're developing a banking app specifically for freelancers, but competition is fierce. How can we differentiate ourselves and communicate our unique value proposition? Are there niche marketing strategies or specific demographics we should focus on to build our initial user base? Susan, the floor is yours.
Okay, so to sum up this probably in a couple of minutes, is, there's probably lots of questions around it. So I'll just try and be as succinct as I can, and probably Hannah, with her marketing background, will be able to give a bit more into the marketing strategies potentially. What I'm thinking here is why, and the first question I would ask if we were in a meeting would be, why have you decided to design a banking app? So what motivated you? Why, right? So why are you developing this new banking app? You said it's for freelancers offering tailored financial services. So I'm assuming, wrongly or rightly, that you have some kind of market research knowledge that tells you there's a gap in this market, first of all, would be. And if you don't have that, I think you need to so go back and think about why. And the reason that's important is because for you to have started, this new banking app, and you're at the seed stage, you need to demonstrate that there is a market for this and that freelancers will use it. So that's the basics for me. So, you should be thinking about who's going to use it. Why did we originally come up with that idea? And then start thinking about testing it out. And it may be from what you're doing around this testing and asking people, you could be asking freelancers, I take it this has been done. It's really difficult to know because I'm not sure at what stage, but I'm assuming there's been some kind of testing or some kind of out to the market in terms of freelancers to identify the gap, and then from there you can start testing that out. Freelancers is that's a big market, so I would say try and work out from some of the background, the data that you have maybe collected from early stage development, where is the niche, who would maybe start. So I think maybe start with you will have to identify that. I can't tell you who that specific demographic would be, but you should be starting to think about who that might be from the information you may have collected, and then start testing it on small groups, rather than go for the whole freelance market, would be my kind of thoughts on that, because it's probably too wide. So to sum it up, what motivated you to start that new banking app? Was that because you had a problem and you saw that this would help? Have you tested it out already? And if you have, what's that telling you? And then maybe out of that information, that might help you inform who your niche market might be.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Yes, sorry, Susan. Go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, that was great. I think from the marketing strategy point of view, my thoughts are, I think I touched on it in my kind of do's of growth, is to go where your customers are and kind of really exhaust organic places before you kind of offering a free like financial advice or free kind of talk or something like that to a community to get your awareness there. And I think so, and a couple of things around your demographic. I suppose freelancers, like Susan said, it's quite broad. Maybe you are honing into whether it's marketing freelancers or it's operations, what kind of specialism maybe you want to go into, then target those communities. I also think it's probably worth thinking about age demographic when it comes to freelancing, and maybe the type of, I think you've probably hopefully done a bit of work around who you think that persona is, but I'm imagining if it's a new banking app that's quite forward thinking, it's a challenger bank, and that might skew a little bit younger in the freelance space, versus someone that, potentially a freelancer that's been doing it for years, has an accountant they work with, they have a real set process. It could be you could be giving a value add by educating a younger or someone that's new to freelancing, and that's where you might be able to kind of get in there and kind of solve a pain point that they're having.
Thank you very much for that. And just to go in line with what the ladies mentioned, Susan has heard this before from me, so probably she's fed up. But nevertheless, there's something I call 𝗦𝘁. N stands for needs, W stands for wants, I stands for innovation, D stands for disruption, and S stands for scalability. This is what makes and breaks a startup. So you've got to think, what is the need? What is the problem that you're trying to solve here? And unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the book now, but it claims that over 85% of startups start building before, or build whatever they think their minimum viable product is, before they've spoken to a single potential customer. and that is detrimental. That is a sure recipe for your startup to fail. So as both ladies mentioned, go out there, speak to the people that you want them to use this, and get some hard questions out there, because people will kind of say yes and thank you and well done, but what you want from them is you want them to put their money where their mouth is. W stands for want, which means you got to figure out your customer persona and be extremely niche about it, not just anybody who's a freelancer. I stands for innovation. You've got to think, what is it that you're doing new? What is innovative here in your product or business? D stands for disruption, and this is quite important too. Basically, you've got to think, who are you going to need to steal clients from? Which other current players in the markets you are going to disrupt? And perhaps just as important as the first one, i.e. the need or the problem, S, which stands for scalability. Is this scalable? Because it all comes down to one thing. You may have the greatest product or service in your head or your mind or perhaps on paper, but it all comes down to enough people buying it and paying money to you. Simple as that. So what is it you need to scale it? First and foremost, is it scalable? What is it you need? What is it you have and don't have, and so on? Get that on paper, and then write a small product roadmap, and then take it from there. If you haven't done that, then unfortunately you've just wasted quite a bit of your money and resources so far. So maybe go back to the drawing board would be my best advice. Although, again, there may be much more to this than we can see from that question, and then it's a matter of you joining us live, where we can ask follow-ups and get a better understanding of your situation and your needs. So please do bear that in mind. Now, we've got 30 minutes to go, and 30 minutes only. This is Startup Growth Q&A. We're here to help startups with whatever questions you may have whilst you're building your early stage, whilst you're building and growing your business, really. Your questions could be on anything to do with growing your business, whether that is your user, client, vendor, partner acquisition, perhaps some growth hacks you may want, or ideas on sales, marketing, advertising, branding, or maybe go-to-market. Anything to do with this sphere. All you have to do is, if you're here on Microsoft Teams, type the question in the chat. And if you're not here, please be aware that unfortunately we're unable to monitor your questions in the other platforms, whether you're tuning in via YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. So you'll need to join us live here on Microsoft Teams. There are two ways you can do that. Either click the link that I've pasted in those streams, or simply go to startup-to-scaleup.club, find today's session, which is Startup Growth Q&A 131, and then you'll be able to have a quick registration and join us interactively here on Microsoft Teams. Now, if your questions today are not on growth, please save them for the other conversations we run. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, and Thursday's fundraising. Second Friday of each month, it's legal, and third Friday of each month, it's finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site, startup-to-scaleup.club. You can also join our WhatsApp group, where you'll be able to get alerts to all future conversations. And now we'll go on to another question. This is an agri-tech for small-scale farmers in Kent at seed stage. And by the way, ladies, I've put this question in the chat so you can read it too. Now, the situation they have is that influencer campaigns don't resonate with practical farming audiences. The question is, our agri-tech platform struggles to find influencers who can connect with small-scale farmers, as most campaigns feel too polished and out of touch with practical farming needs. How can we identify and engage with trusted voices within farming communities, such as regional cooperative leaders or farmer bloggers, to share authentic testimonials about our product's real-world impact? Furthermore, how can we encourage these influencers to create content like day in the life, demonstrations for results-driven case studies to resonate with their peers? Finally, what methods can we use to track the influence of these campaigns on adoption rates and overall brand credibility in the farming sector? Hannah, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Please take it away.
I'm actually a farmer's daughter, so I should be able to answer this, but let me have a little think. So I think just thinking about this and my knowledge of kind of the space, but generally I've done a lot of influencer work, and I think bringing it all together, I think, you know, we all know that going after those influential voices in your industry is kind of key now. Very much kind of that is how people are relating and going after stuff. But I think it is tricky in the farming community because it's very dispersed, and I think again there's like a lot of age ranges there, and I think just the traditional kind of influencer on say TikTok or Instagram might not be your first port of call. I think they're often very tight-knit communities. So what I would say is going again, it's the same as what I said before, kind of going after those existing communities that are already there, and offering to kind of, whether it's to sponsor it, to come along and kind of educate and kind of tell stories or kind of tell, you know, brand experience. But I also think on the flip side, it's offering, if you really do want to kind of get key influential voices, and that has definitely increased in previous years, thanks to the likes of say someone like Jeremy Clarkson. I think there's a lot more happening in that space in regenerative farming and all of it, and so there's definitely been a rise around the intersection, I suppose, of farming and kind of real life culture and people talking about their livelihoods. So I think it's kind of continue to go after it, but I think if you want to get those free bits of content and storytelling that's going to have that impact on your brand, then I think you still need to be offering something. So I think it's reaching out and maybe offering them experiences. Perhaps it's hosting a small kind of local event with those farms to educate again and get them along. I think people love free things, people love to gather. I think there's definitely a rise again of kind of in-person meets and everything not just being online, and I especially know in those kind of farming communities, word does travel. So I think there's a lot of word of mouth to be done if you are just if you perhaps advertise something like that in the right places. So that was a bit of a waffle, but my general view on it. And I think in terms of tracking influence of these campaigns and adoption rates, I think there's definitely things you can be doing depending on where the channels that you market. So whether you are, say, on Instagram, you can quite easily see a rise in your profile views and engagement there. But I think just generally around the narrative, so say it was something like regenerative farming, I think it's very easy to see in the wider farming sector what topics are having an increase, and you can see that on kind of Google Trends. So you can go onto Google and you can see how that's shifting, and then potentially what part of the conversation you're playing, and then also just general kind of brand search increasing, so you can look at your kind of web traffic. But it is a slow burn, especially with kind of influence. I think a blog is very different because you can have direct links out, and you can really see and understand what links have been popular and what traffic you're getting. But I think general kind of social influencers, I think it's a bit of a slow burn to really see the results on that, but it's worth it, and it's a bit of a halo effect, definitely.
I hear. Thank you very much for that, Hannah. Susan, what are your thoughts on this?
Yes, this is really interesting for me because south of Scotland, particularly in our Dumfries and Galloway area, we have a lot of agriculture, producing quite a lot of the milk and the eggs for the UK from our region. So this resonates quite a bit with me, and I totally agree with everything that Hannah said. I jotted down a couple of things which was really, there tend to be smaller communities, a lot rural based, so it really is that in-person thing as well is always valued. I think for me it's about trying to, again, to me it goes back to the product, the benefits. There's a lot going on in farming. Farmers are, they get lots of things thrown at them, and I think it's about finding what the benefit of your platform is going to do for the actual the farmer, but possibly trying to link in with some of, get some influence from maybe, we have young farmer associations, there'll be local farmer groups, but I think it probably is there'll be the National Union of Farmers. In Scotland, I think we've got sort of like a rural farming initiative as well, but it's really trying to get to know people and build up that trust. I think trust is a really is quite a big thing within the farming community. I'm not a farmer's daughter, so I'm only really speaking from some of the experience we've had, but I'll just give you a quick example, because we want to engage as an economic development agency with the farming and agriculture community, and what we've done is we've done a Rural Innovate programme, and we've very much targeted an area down the west coast, which is very rural within Scotland, and probably not a lot of people visit there in terms of economic development agencies. And we've built up a trust, and we've got 12 farmers on that programme as we speak, just going through a programme of what's the future for your business, what does that look like, and just generally trying to bring that peer-to-peer sort of group and networking together, very much led by the farmers that are on the group. We're doing that in partnership with the Scottish Rural University and College as well, but that's led by seeing there was a demand for it, and then building up that trust and getting trusted speakers along to that event. So I think, sorry, I'm maybe rambling a little bit, but I think just really building on from what Hannah is saying, that you do what you're doing. It'll be a slow burner, but I think you probably need to do a lot of work around building up trust within that community, within that farming community, and maybe to focus on maybe some either if it's a specific area or a sector or industry within agriculture, to gain that trust, so that people get to see the value of what you're trying to do, would be my advice.
I hear. Thank you for that, Susan. Now, ladies, I'm quite a fan of partnerships and kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, and on this particular topic, especially kind of following the hand that feeds them. So both from your knowledge, Susan, as a farmer's daughter, but also, sorry, Hannah, and also Susan from a public sector point of view, what's the likelihood of this person or similar businesses going to either a local authority or a farming, perhaps a farming industry body like Farmers Union or something else, and getting an entry through that angle? Is it easily done? Let's start with Susan again, if it's okay, Susan. Let's say if this person reached out to you, how would they be able to work through your organization with, let's say, these 12 farmers that you've reached out to? And then, Hannah, if you'd like to add anything after that, that would be great. Susan?
Yeah, so again, it's about trust. So it's about getting the right person, first of all, in the organization. And I think building that trust, understanding what it is that you're trying to sell out to people? Because I think this is what this is about. Is it? There'll be agri-tech platform. Sorry, I was just going back to read in the chat. So I think for partnerships are all about trust. In terms of Scotland, it's worth having a look at what's happening in the public sector around. CivTech is one of our sort of flagship programs that the Scottish Government have funded, and that's around trying to get it is around getting small tech innovative businesses working on solutions mainly in the public sector, but can be slightly wider than that. So it's really about understanding, I suppose, the landscape and what's out there. We're, as a public sector organisation, you have to be really careful about who you're partnering with. We don't tend to partner with private sector small companies as such, because there'd be a lot of competition out there. So we tend to partner through either other public sector organisations or third sector organisations tend to be what we would partner with. But that's not to say that if your product, for me, if you're trying to get your product to market, it really is about trying to get to that customer base. It might be partners might be able to help you, but generally that's more just a way to get in to then speak it, to sell your product really is what you're trying to do. So I think partnerships are fine, but make sure that they're the right partnership and you don't end up wasting a lot of time when actually there's going to be nothing out of it. So if people approach me about things, I give them time, I'll listen to what they're trying to do, but I'm very honest about if it's not something that I can do. I wouldn't waste anybody's time because everyone's time's precious. So I think, make sure that if you are thinking about partnerships, understand what the organisation is doing, try and get a call with them and see if there's any mutual way that you can both work together, would be my advice.
Oh, although you're not saying it, what you're really saying is there are no shortcuts.
No, there never is, Anton. And the difficulty is with these things is that, what I've seen in the past is that sometimes it's all about timing. So if I genuinely have people that I can see that we could work together, but it's just not the right time for us as an organisation because we maybe don't have the right conditions or there's not the right companies, coming forward that we're working with. So I'm not going to waste people's time, and I'm quite honest about that. But what I will do is I do think there's potential opportunities coming up, and we've got public sector procurement as well, just to add into the mix. So it's all got to be open and transparent. Then I will meet with that person every few months just for a virtual coffee, just to keep in touch, because I can see that there may be an opportunity in the future. But sometimes you will get so that's really where I'm coming from. It's not straightforward, I would say. Partnerships, they can be tricky, but they can work well if you have a mutual sort of agreement, I suppose, or mutual opportunity.
Makes sense. Thank you, Susan. Hannah, any thoughts on that part?
I'm a big fan of partnerships, but I totally hear you. I think the timing has to be right on both sides. I think partnerships especially work when I can't remember the phrase you just used. You used before, Anton, but I think when you're a smaller business and you're trying to piggyback off a bigger business, that's like a complete win. But I think a bigger business isn't going to be stupid in that respect of like, what am I getting out of it? So I think there has to be a shared benefit on both sides. And I think, Susan, you mentioned around young farmers. I actually think that's a really interesting route for this, because if you think about it in terms of there is a lot of unhappiness in the farming communities at the moment. It is tough there, but the exciting thing is there are still quite a lot of passionate young farmers that are willing to kind of learn and look to see how they can enhance the business they're in or they're going to inherit or whatever else. So I think especially for a younger smallholding farmer could potentially be really interesting. And I think with young farmers, if you were partnering with them nationally, there's the understanding of like what could go out nationally to people, but recognizing that you're probably only going to be able to kind of do something, say, in person with a smaller group. But I know they're always looking for speakers, and they're always looking to partner with innovative brands and educate the farmers. So I think there could be there's something really nice there. But I think really rounding it all off is, as Susan said, it's not quick. And you might not have a yes straight away, but I think you have to keep, if you've got those dream partners or those dream industry bodies that you want to work with, I think it's around kind of keep knocking on their door and being front of mind when the right time might arise.
Anton, could I just jump in, because there was something that just came to mind, and apologies that I'm not really up to speed on what's happening, down in England, because we're very much Scotland based. So I know all the support up here, but it's agri-tech company in Kent.
Sorry, we left Europe in 2016. That's the only difference.
Yeah. So no, I was meaning in terms of support for businesses at an early stage, and I'm assuming here, and I might be wrong, that if this is at seed stage, small scale, agri-tech for small scale farmers, that they may have had some, I don't know if what I'm talking about is there's some programs or accelerators or general advice down south now for people. I don't know that kind of, I'm not sure the layout of the land, but I do know that there's bound to be some people that could give. What I'm thinking about this particular company here is, just from what Hannah's been saying, I've been saying, there's probably, this company needs a session with some trusted advisors, whether that's public or private sector, who can actually just float those ideas back and forward with them to give them a bit of direction. Not really tell them what to do, but really just, I'm just thinking like a market and strategy workshop, or just a couple of a couple of sessions with a trusted advisor.
That totally makes sense, Susan.
Yeah.
Now, I from time to time come across from some local authority grants or programs. Innovate UK, by the way, it's also a good go-to, and they're not focused in one specific location or area. And the beauty of it is that because they've got this overall coverage UK-wide, they can then perhaps put this person in touch with people locally and so on. But definitely something for them to look into. And by the way, whether you're listening to this now live or if you listen to the recording, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. And if I can think of anybody in particular, I'll be more than happy to put you in touch with them as far as farming is concerned, and see where that takes you. Right here, we've got 9 minutes to go, so probably time for about another, maybe tops 2 questions. Quick reset of the conversation. This is Startup Growth Q&A. It's our 131st session. We've had, in almost 4 years, we've had over 270,000 people joining us. But because we've changed platforms, I guess we need all the help we can get to spread the news. If you are finding any value in this, so please feel free to either share this conversation now or just tag us on LinkedIn and so on. Now, today we're here to help you with whatever questions you may have on growing your business, hopefully from zero to hero. You see, unfortunately, over 90% of startups fail, and whilst the top 3 reasons on paper are 1, market fit, 2, running out of money, and 3, not having the right people, when it comes down to it, it's all about the ability to sell whatever product or service you have. I believe that sales cures everything, and not only helps you survive and not die, but actually helps you thrive. So whether your questions today are on user, vendor, partner, client acquisition, growth hacks, sales, marketing, advertising, branding, or go-to-market, and all that jazz, this is what we're here to do. There are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. Now, for those of you that are tuning in via these other platforms where we're live streaming, like LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, please be aware that unfortunately we're unable to monitor your questions there. And I can see a few alerts popping up on my phone for, strangely, Instagram quite a few. So I'm assuming there's questions from yourselves. Unfortunately, we can't monitor them here. So if you do want to ask us anything, just click on those links that I've put on those live streams. That will take you straight onto Microsoft Teams. If you can't do that, then you can go to our website, startup-to-scaleup.club, click on today's session, Startup Growth Q&A 131, quick registration, and then you're in. If your questions, however, today are not on growth, please save them for the other rooms we do. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of each month, UK startup law, and third Friday of each month, UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. They're all free, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site, or you can join our WhatsApp groups. You'll see the icon, the WhatsApp icon on our website, top and bottom of the site. Therefore, by clicking that, you'll be able to get alerts for all future rooms. Now, we've got two brilliant ladies with us on the panel, and I'm going to go with another question that was sent in to us. A sustainable D2C e-commerce platform for ethical clothing in Edinburgh. They're at seed stage. The current situation is that selling eco-friendly clothing struggling to convert social media interest into paying customers due to price sensitivity and limited consumer education on sustainability benefits. The question they have, and by the way, it's three co-founders, is we're struggling to convert social media engagement into purchases for our ethical clothing line. What data-driven acquisition techniques, such as predictive analytics for targeting price-sensitive audiences or limited time discounts on first purchases, could help grow our paying customer base in Scotland? I'm not sure who went first, last question, but since it's Scotland, we'll give you the mic first, Susan, and then we can go to Hannah for some technical input, perhaps. Susan?
Yeah, so I'm not going to answer the stuff around the data-driven acquisition techniques. I'm not sure that's my kind of expertise. So, but you're in Edinburgh. I don't stay that far from Edinburgh and have been, worked in the Edinburgh sort of business support service for quite a long time. So what I'd say is there is a lot of through the Business Gateway service, which will be attached to the City of Edinburgh Council. So there's a great Business Gateway team there, and I keep an eye on what these guys are doing up in Edinburgh, and they do lots of marketing. They'll do tools for, I would imagine, data-driven attached to business. So there's lots of support, free support, I will say, around there for this kind of thing. They have a team of business advisors and I think possibly growth advisors as well. So my advice would be check out the Business Gateway. It's just www.bgateway.com to see what's going on locally. And if you're not engaged, I certainly engage. The other thing I probably would advise that you had a look at would be, it may necessarily not be for you, but it's worth having a look, which is the Tech Scaler programme. So that's a Scottish Government programme run by a private sector company called Codeways, and they're very much into that tech side of it, and it might be worth engaging in their community. And they may have, I know that they're on they're based, they have a lot of founders and mentors who might be able to help as well, someone that's already maybe been in the sector, so might be able to help you. So I think my message would be there is a lot of free support there, and what the majority of it is really good stuff, wherever that's from founders that have already been there, that are giving up their time to mentor. So that would be through TechScaler or the Business Gateway team, who will be running quite a lot of programs around how to help business around marketing, social media, use of data, that kind of stuff. So that would be my advice, is get connected if you're not already connected, and there'll be people around that will be able to help you.
Thank you very much for that, Susan. Hannah, any thoughts on this?
Great. Yes, quite a few thoughts. I think just generally taking a step back, I do think it's a tough time to be, not to be negative, it's a tough time to be in retail, and we are in a very price sensitive UK market at the moment. So when it comes to something like clothing, I do think there definitely is, considerations around how much you're going to pay and what your converters are on that product. So I think sustainability is a tough one. I think it's super important, and it's really important for every brand to have that kind of message now. And if you're not doing your bit around sustainability, then I think that isn't great. But I think it's not always the converter, sadly. I think there's probably other things that, yes, you're sustainable, which is a massive win, but from a messaging point of view, also thinking about things like the quality of the product and communicating that, and why buying from you guys. And then I think that also really does come into the value piece about being a price sensitive market. So looking just quickly around some of these data-driven acquisition techniques, I think they kind of answer their own question here, because totally, I think personalized offers are really key. And so if the more you can understand about the people that are engaging with you but not converting, the better. So if you can start segmenting. So if you are capturing data, so if you're capturing an email address from these people that have shown an interest, then that's a win, because then you can obviously follow up with them and give them personalized offers. But I also think a lot of the remarketing needs to come into play. So having your abandoned basket flow set up, for example, or abandoned browse, so that you can understand what that customer was looking at, and then retarget them with an email, which is very cost effective, kind of an hour later after they're shopping, then 3 days, and then maybe not moving to the discount straight away. I think it's about reminding the customer of what's in their basket first, and then perhaps it's like day 2 or day 3 that you just try a selection of different discount offers, whether it's 10%, 15%, whatever your business can handle, without kind of making you be at a loss. And then another thing, I think definitely from an e-commerce, D2C retail point of view, is looking at other things, not just discounts. So looking at something like free shipping over a certain threshold, and trialing that. I know especially in the US, a US customer will do anything to not pay for shipping. Shipping's really expensive there. Shipping is getting more and more expensive in the UK. So I think testing out some things like that around what you can tolerate as a business around shipping thresholds is great. And then lastly, I suppose, is you don't want to just be a discount brand. So I think personalized discount offers, and like I said, don't offer necessarily up straight away. But I think if you could tie it to like little mini campaigns or moments is also really great. So, for to celebrate Valentine's, for example, you might want to give an offer that is on a selected range. So whether it's just the dresses, for example. And I think if you could tie discounts to a moment, it makes the customer feel that sense of urgency versus feeling like you're always on a discount. So there's my little tips.
Thank you very much, ladies. And I know we're over the line, but I can't resist not just add quickly a couple of things. I really like the remarketing thing, and I can mention this from experience. There's an accelerator I was helping. Well, actually, it's more like angels that got together to help their portfolio companies rather than official accelerator. But anyway, long story short, we, although I'm not an expert, but I pushed them towards this retargeting and remarketing. And one of them was in actually retail, and they saw a 38% increase of sales in 1 quarter. The other one, it was more than double. And but the one that more than doubled it, they were an edtech company. So I would definitely support Hannah's point on that. The second part on the pricing bit, you see, you're selling ethical stuff. Now, whilst you have to find ways for it to be affordable by most people, I wouldn't focus on that, because you've got 2 different messages there. You either got the affordable one or you've got the ethical one. Mixing them together, it's not easy. it's actually extremely difficult in my knowledge. And again, I'm not an expert in your field, but just from what I've come across. So personally, I wouldn't focus too much on that pricing part. But, you know, things to make everybody's life easier, like Hannah said, you know, the shipping and so on, then yes, you've got to find those. Personally, I think what would really work here is some kind of network effect / social proof on this, where people want to be seen by other people doing the right thing and so on, and that way for them to also maybe nudge each other to do it. Sorry, Hannah, I saw you raise your hand.
That was a mistake. Carry on. Sorry.
No worries. But anyway, we are now 3 minutes over the line, and I don't want to be unfair to Susan and Hannah, so I will let you go, ladies. But before you go, if you've got any parting words for us, we'd really appreciate it. If not, carry on with your business.
Just thanks for having me, and hopefully it was helpful.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Yeah, same here. I always love doing this, and yeah, hopefully people find the advice helpful.
Thank you very much. And I feel like apologizing because, as you probably have noticed before, Susan, I tend to get a bit frustrated by people that are, I don't want to call them lazy, but let's say not very keen on doing this interactively here on Microsoft Teams, because one, it makes for a better conversation, and two, it actually helps us and my esteemed panelists to give better answers if you're here. So please, whether you've sent in questions or you've tuned in here via Microsoft Teams or the other platforms, next time join us live and ask questions live, and I guarantee you'll get better answers from our panelists. Nevertheless, huge thanks to everyone for tuning in, especially our panel. Both Susan and Hannah, you were brilliant. Thank you very much for this. Just a quick reminder, everybody, we run 6 regular rooms: Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of each month, UK startup law, third Friday of each month, UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. A reminder that on our live streams, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and so on, we are unable to monitor questions there live. So next time you'd have to join us here on Microsoft Teams. If you want to RSVP to future sessions, go to our site, StartUp2ScaleUp.club. There you'll find whichever session you prefer. You can also join our WhatsApp group to get future alerts. Otherwise, hopefully you'll join us tomorrow. We've got at least 4 or 5 outstanding VCs joining us for our startup fundraising Q&A. That is 12 to 1 p.m. For now, thanks again. Have a great afternoon, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.